Hello and welcome to the Work for Change podcast. My name is Jean.
And I'm John. If you are listening to this on podcast format, please consider leaving us a 5-star review.
And if you're listening on YouTube, please leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. We are just getting started in this, but we are so excited. Please enjoy this first episode.
And thanks for coming along on the journey.
Hello and welcome to the Work for Change podcast. My name is Jean.
And I am John.
And we're glad you're here.
Yeah, this is a long time in the making. It's something that I've wanted to do for a really long time, and I'm really glad that I was able to, me and my brother are able to do it together, because if not, I would be talking to myself for an hour trying to come up with things. So, yeah.
Don't act like that. Don't act like that would be hard for you to do.
It would be. For an hour? An hour talking about stuff? It's hard for me enough to make a 10-minute YouTube video. But I had a story I wanted to share to start the podcast off. So people are probably wondering, oh, why are you doing it with your brother? What's your relationship like with your brother? So one,
Who is your brother?
Who is your brother? One, I want, if I get any of these details wrong, please, correct me, because you were older at the time. So when me and my brother were younger, we used to love wrestling. WWF is what it was called when we were watching it, right? We loved wrestling. We had a couple of really close friends that also really loved wrestling, and so we would wrestle together, And this was at the time where I had just started getting a little bit huskier. So I was getting I had a little bit more meat on my bones. And as we were growing up, John you were always skinnier, right? You were a skinny kid. I was a little bit huskier. So we would wrestle, and they would pit us against each other a lot. And I remember one day we were outside, and I decided that I just sat on my brother. I sat on him, and somehow I won the wrestling match. I forget exactly. Did we do a 3 count or something like that? Is that what we did? Yeah. Something like that, right?
Or I submitted.
Yeah, or something. But he was mad at me. So incredibly angry. And then, a couple days go by, and then we are spending the night at the same friend's house. And John gets me in this thing. It's called the Crippler Crossface. So he got on my back and grabs my head from my forehead and just wrenches my neck back. And I tap out, and he doesn't stop. He doesn't stop at all. He just keeps going, and literally to where I'm crying. And then I think their dad came in, right? Or their father figure, Darcy, came in, and he made you stop.
I don't remember that much.
Okay,
maybe they stopped us.
They probably stopped.
Whoa.
Yeah, I might be over exaggerating because I was the victim in here. But Jean did that because I remember you said something like, "You sat on me," you still remembered that, and that was why you were doing it.
Okay, so we're starting off.
I want to make you the villain, and I want to be the good guy in this podcast. I want people to understand that they should trust me, not really trust you because you're evil and you'll do the crypto crossface on it.
Yeah, well, this was also elementary school, and so whatever
he hasn't
happened
changed
then,
at all.
Yeah. I still regularly put him in the crypto crossface until he cries.
That's what we were doing this whole time before we started the podcast. He had me in the crypto crossface, and then
No. So funny story. What we were doing right before this podcast is we spent an hour and a half trying to figure out how to get this podcast going.
Yeah. That was stressful. So we have these microphones. You guys can't see it if you're just listening, but we have these little microphones, and we tried to get them to work. And apparently, I don't know, maybe some of you guys listening to the podcast can help us, but apparently you can't have 2 USB mics that are the same, or just in general 2 USB mics on a Mac recording at the same time. So we had to ditch it, and we're using the Blue microphone right now. So hopefully the quality's okay. It's going to be getting better. We're planning on investing, but we just really wanted to record. We've been really excited about this. So if it's not exactly perfect, that's what's going on. But by we, I mean Jean. He is definitely more of the technical side of everything. We've been struggling for an hour and a half before filming this. So
yeah, it's almost like trying to start a podcast out of nowhere with no prior experience. It's gonna have some hiccups.
Yeah. So yeah, we've been doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes as far as getting pictures, trying to work out a time where we can take pictures for the podcast, getting logo stuff done, obviously ordering all this stuff that because this microphone that we're using was something that we ordered too. So ordering everything that we thought we would need, and it's growing pains. So we're trying to figure it out, and hopefully next week will be better, and then it'll just get better from there. But yeah. So that's kind of why we decided to start it. But I thought for this first podcast, we could share a little bit of our stories as to basically how we got to this point in our lives. So if you want to take it away, because I've been talking way too much, go ahead and do that.
Okay, so basically it's our our fitness journey. How did we get into fitness, and how did we get to the point where our relationship is so strong now is actually through fitness, like as
Absolutely.
weird as that is, because we're brothers, but
Brothers.
I was okay. So I was never like a fully like fit kid. I've always kind of been into like Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh.
Still is.
Yeah, like I wasn't a sportser.
I was not a sportist in my childhood. I was not a sporter.
And so I was never like out on the streets playing sports with everyone. I wasn't,
I don't think you need to explain that. I think by you saying I wasn't a sporter, they get the idea.
Yeah. And so, whereas I was never overweight like my brother was, I wasn't fit. I wasn't active.
Overweight?
Yeah, you were very overweight. And
Jean used to wear girls' pants. They fit him, though.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Remember when I stole your shorts that you used to wear? Remember those shorts from Hot Topic? They were like, they had zippers all over them, and I stole them from you. But I was like, 2 years isn't that different, but when we were that little, I should not have been wearing the same size clothes as you. Yeah. And then I stole his shorts and he never got them back.
Nope. And they were really cool shorts.
They were. They were very good Charlotte shorts.
They went down to about mid shin.
So for me, they were basically pants.
Yeah,
because I was shorter.
And they had way too many zippers and buckles, and they're awesome. But anyway, I was never an athletic kid. And then in high school, for my PE class, I did weight training instead of PE. Just because it was like lifting weights and it was fun, and I was like, oh, I'm getting strong, I'm building my body. After I graduated high school, I stopped doing weight training, but was still eating the same, still, relatively inactive outside of school, and now my entire life. And so after high school, I really started gaining a lot of weight. I got to about my highest weight, which was around 220.
You ate you almost always ate fast food.
Yeah.
It was like all you ate was like fast food. And it's funny because like what happened to you is, as silly as it sounds, it's so normal for so many people.
Yeah, exactly.
That's like the story. In high school, I wasn't overweight. Luckily for you, I mean, you weren't even playing a bunch of sports.
Yeah.
You weren't a sporter.
Yeah.
But then like you got out of high school and it was like, I continue eating the same foods, and then.
Yeah, exactly. And then you end up just gaining all the weight. And I was in denial for a long time, just like, oh, this is what happened. You can talk about it. This is what happens. You get a new size.
I have a question. Do you think that me being as big as I was a reason at all? I'm sure in your head you didn't think, well, at least I'm not as fat as Johnny.
No. Yeah, no. I like a reason why I was decided to lose weight.
Yeah, or just decided not to. Like in your head, it was like a way to not cope, but like give yourself a reason. Well, at least I'm not as big as John.
I thought I looked fine. I honestly I didn't have like I'm not as big as this person. I'm not as big as this person. I just thought like, oh well, I'm just growing up, you know. And then it was like, I've showed the picture of like at Josh's wedding.
Jeez, yeah,
and
that one's wild.
Like I just like started seeing pictures, and also went through a breakup. That was just like, I kind of realized like if I'm gonna get back on the market,
I need to bring a Lambo.
Yeah, exactly.
Not trying to walk around in this Honda Civic.
Yeah, exactly. And it was not a Honda Civic; it was like a minivan. And
it's a VW bus.
Yeah. Breakups will do that for you. And so I kind of was just like, all right, I'm gonna start getting fit again. And I started doing the regular gym thing. All right, back and by, chest and try, gym, choose 24-hour fitness, whatever I can, and kind of got burnt out off of that, and I just wasn't very excited about it. And then watching YouTube, I saw this like documentary about this girl named Lauren Fisher, and I was like, what is she doing? Like, she can do so many things. She was running at the beach, she was doing pull-ups, she was snatching, she was doing clean and jerks, and I didn't even know what any of those things were, but it was just like fascinating. And then once you watch one video on YouTube, you get recommended about something else. And one of the first videos I saw was like Jacob Hepner and Brooke Wells, Road to the Games. And then it was like all the road
down the rabbit hole.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then you just keep on getting suggested stuff. And so I started doing boot camps at the gym I was going to. And then finally was just like, oh, you know what? Like, it's time to do CrossFit. That's where I met Sam. A whole other story. But that's pretty much the progression down into fitness, and I haven't looked back since. Now I have a CrossFit YouTube channel, and I'm doing a podcast that talks about CrossFit.
Yeah, so it's been really cool seeing John, like seeing you go from not being at all fit, and like, because you started your weight loss stuff after I had pretty much lost my weight.
Yeah.
And I remember you'd ask me like a couple questions, and I would like give you like, oh, watch this person, watch that person, and you pretty much started doing what I was doing in the gym. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like back by, bodybuilding stuff. And the thing is like, I could tell that you never had that like passion for it like I did. Like you were never like, I loved it. I still do it, right? You were always like, I'm doing this. I like it, but I know I'm doing it for a reason, is like to look better.
Yeah.
And
100%.
it's been really cool, like being able to watch John go from feeling like that to being super excited to go to the gym. Like you literally like love CrossFit so much, and it's something that you are super passionate about, and it's not at all like, oh, it's so hard to go to the gym, I don't know if I want to go. Like obviously we always have days where it's harder, but you are excited to come here.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's just, again, I was never a sportser. So, no, but to be real, I was never athletic. I remember talking to, I think, the head coach here, Corey, and I was like, I've never been athletic. Like, I've never been an athletic person. And then he was just like, maybe you just never realized you were athletic,
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of like that. Oh, yeah, like, because I'm catching on to skills relatively quickly. I'm having a blast doing it, So it's like, it's just this whole new, like, I can do more than I always thought.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a musician type. I'm a
creative.
Yeah,
You're like, oh, that was like, that's my category that I fall in. I'm a creative person.
Exactly.
Sports and fitness just isn't for me. So for me, actually, I always have been pretty athletic, or like really enjoyed sports. Growing up, I played flag football like forever. I played flag football, right? I was a defensive lineman and the center, and 2 years out of the, I think 6 years that I played or something like that, I got MVP on my team. How does that happen?
Yeah.
For a center and a D lineman to get MVP over the quarterback? Because I just loved it. And I was like, I tried to lead my team a ton. So I was really into sports. And I guess kind of just shifting into my journey, obviously most of you guys I'm sure know I was overweight as a child. Our family isn't of the highest income, so food for us was always like cheap and what could feed a lot of people. And so
Sam just asked me recently, she's like, what were your like meals you ate when you grew up? Like what
fast food and chicken and rice.
Like what is like home food to you?
Yeah.
And it's literally like big old bowls of macaroni and cheese.
Mhm. Ramen with grilled cheese.
Yeah. And then hamburger helper.
And then mom would make the chicken and rice with the cream and mushroom soup on top.
Oh my gosh.
Then it was fast food.
Yeah.
And I remember we would go, when we were in junior high, I think you were in 8th and I was in 6th. That was the only time we were together. We would go to Jack in the Box every morning. Mom would take us to Jack in the Box. I would get a large drink and a breakfast Jack. And I remember I would get extra salt and put it on there. And you would get
a plain chicken sandwich.
Yeah, you didn't like the mayonnaise and stuff on it. So that was like, that's how we grew up. We didn't have much money. And I remember being absolutely devastated because, again, like I said, I loved being athletic. And I even though I was a bigger kid, I was still like able to move really well. I got tons of sacks, sacks in quotation marks because it was flags, but I really loved being the athletic bigger guy. And then I remember I wanted to join Pop Warner, and Pop Warner is basically, it's tackle football for younger kids, but there was a weight restriction and the weight limit was 200 pounds. And I think I was like 11 years old, I was already over that or something like that. I forget exactly what my age was. And I remember being devastated then, but
That's
then just,
crazy.
Yeah.
It took me till I graduated high school to hit 200.
Yeah. And so I was like devastated. And I remember thinking, okay, that was the first time I was like, I need to lose weight. And I say I would try, but again, I was so young, I didn't know what I was doing, and it wasn't really up to me. Like I would say I wanted to try, but then if there's soda around and fast food, it's like I was a little kid, like I'm gonna go for it, right? So then in my head, I was like, okay, you know what? Like that's fine. I guess I just won't be able to play Pop Warner, and a big part of it too was money. It was expensive. I think it was like maybe a couple $1,000s or like more than we had.
Yeah,
like Pop Warner, or the flag football that I played we even got. Because of our low income, it made it cheaper. So it only ended up being like $20 for the whole season. It was like nothing, right? So that was also a part of it. But then when I got into high school, I remember thinking I was so excited to play football. So excited. I've told this story a couple times on the channel. But when I went out to try out, they have this thing where you run a lap. So it's 200 meters, 400 meter lap, right? So they have the bigger people start at the front. So it's basically like, you know, the slower people are at the front so the other people can kind of push them and make them go faster. And I was dead by 100 meters. I couldn't run anymore. So everyone's passing me and most people are like, come on, you can do it. You can do it. But then there's a couple people that are just like, you can tell they're annoyed. And then we get out and we did field exercises, like just doing like sprints and like little things like that. That was fine. I was kind of comfortable with that stuff because I had been playing flag football my whole life. But then we got into the weight room. And I had never lifted before in my entire life, never touched a weight. And they put me under a 135, like 135 bar with, you know, 245s on the side telling me to squat. I have never squatted. So the bar was like sitting on my neck. And so needless to say, I couldn't do it. I had to rack the weight. And then some of the other guys, the older dudes at the football practice were basically making fun of me because I was the biggest kid there. Mm-hmm. And they're like, you're this big and you can't move your body. Like you can't move this weight. Like, what are you big for then? Like, and then so I ended up making a lie up to my coaches and said I had to go home, take care of my mom. And I left home and cried, or left there and cried and walked home. I don't know why I told that story, but I just like, oh yeah. Because I wanted to, like, I have been athletic, you know? And so that was something that's always, obviously has always stuck with me because I remember so many, the little tiny details of it. Yeah. But so then, like, I think with bodybuilding, because so once I started losing weight, the first style of workout that I started doing was bodybuilding, which is, I think for a lot of people, that's kind of how it goes. So I really did like that. I really enjoyed it because I was seeing changes in my body that I never thought I would see. But I think mentally, not that I noticed it, but I think I was always missing something. There was always something like I want to do, like, you know what I mean? Like there's something missing. And then I did my bodybuilding show, and then that's when about a month after I did my bodybuilding show was when John started doing CrossFit, and I saw how much he loved it. And like I said, I could tell that he never really loved the bodybuilding stuff, and seeing him fall in love with something and just be so passionate about fitness, that made me happy because I'm so passionate about it. And seeing like him switch it, I was like super stoked for him, right? And so then I was like, he'd kind of been trying to get me to try CrossFit, and I just remember being like, no. You know, I kind of fell into the category of like regular bodybuilder that's like, oh, I want to, you know, CrossFit, like people get injured too much. And like, I never talked bad about it, but in my head, I just had that stigma, right? And then if you guys have seen on the channel, he ended up convincing me to go. Well, okay, before that video though, that we filmed of my first CrossFit video, he made me watch, or didn't make me, but he said there's documentaries on Netflix, it's The Fittest on Earth, and there's the Froning documentary. And I watched both of those. So I was sold when I watched those. Yeah. We went to Dick's Sporting Goods before my first CrossFit workout, and I bought Metcons.
Which are like the CrossFit shoe.
Yeah, CrossFit shoes. I bought them because I was like, I was sold. Like I was ready to go. And the coach there was like, you already have Metcons, huh? And I was like, man, leave me alone. So then we went and did my first CrossFit workout, and I knew I was going to fall in love with it, and I did. And I tell that whole story to say that I think because I've always been kind of not super athletic, but I had that want to be an athlete in me. I've always had that I think CrossFit has kind of reawakened that and made me like, I love it so much. So me and my brother, we might joke around, but we legit do compete against each other in the gym. Yeah. Like I love when I beat him, and I know he loves when he beats me.
Yeah, and it's to our detriment because there are workouts where it's like we really should be focusing on slow this thing down so you can do better on this one thing. And we're just like, no, like we need to go for it.
It's so true. And it's so cool having him, because we really are super close as far as just our strength is concerned, our movements that we're able to do is concerned, our mobility is concerned. He's a little bit more mobile than me. Most people in the world are more mobile than I am. But we're able to compete against each other, and it's so fun. And so like, that's why I am so excited about this podcast, because we're going to be able to share that and with CrossFit, it's made us so much closer. And like, it's because growing up, like we were pretty close. Like I remember he was always like, I basically would he's my older brother, right? So I would copy pretty much anything he did. And so he really loved emo music and like punk music, still like hardcore music, stuff like that. Back in, what was it, early 2000s? Yeah. Like early to mid 2000s when the scene was like really kind of like starting and then booming, right? And John, he dyed his hair black, straightened it. And I remember I dyed my hair. Yeah. He would wear, like I said, those shorts I stole from him. He would wear sort of stuff. I remember I would get, I hate, because this was before skinny jeans was a thing. Now we're both wearing skinny jeans, but it was before skinny jeans were a thing for men. So he would wear women's pants. And I remember I'd make fun of them, but in my head I was jealous because they didn't make them my size. Yeah. So I couldn't even wear them.
To be fair, like he said, they didn't make skinny jeans.
Exactly.
Like that was like the only way you could wear slim fit pants like that were to buy girl pants.
Yeah.
And so whatever. I'm still wearing tight pants.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly.
So it's like
it wasn't a phase, Mom.
Yeah, exactly.
But so I always wanted to like copy him, and so we were pretty close, but like when we were younger, we were really close. Best friends, like we hung out with the same friends, and then it's just normal, right? As he got into high school and stuff, in middle school, we kind of drifted apart. But then once he left the house, because I was still living with my mom and stuff, we weren't close at all. We barely ever talked. We didn't hang out very much at all. And then again, like seeing, even though he was like kind of into fitness before he got into CrossFit, he wasn't super into it.
And it was it was all your friends. Like if I did go to the gym, it was like with your friends and with your connections. And so it was just like this, like, I'll do my own thing.
Well, and the thing is like bodybuilding is more personal, right? Yeah. Like you can go to obviously you can do CrossFit by yourself too, but most people will go to a bodybuilding gym either with themselves or maybe one other friend and do their workout like that. Like that's about as social as it gets, which there's nothing wrong with that. I love that. I still do that. But with CrossFit, it's just such a social thing and you're doing the same exact workout. So through CrossFit, we have gotten so much closer, and that's been like, honestly, it's one of the coolest things to me because again, like he was who I looked up to when I was growing up and who I wanted to basically literally would copy. And, you know, his favorite band was my favorite band. He liked Good Charlotte, so Good Charlotte was my favorite band. And then he quickly grew out of that, but I kind of stayed with Good Charlotte for a while.
I moved on to like Under Oath and Devil Wears Prada.
He was actually screaming in a band.
Yeah.
Can you give us a little?
No, I cannot. I was just listening to Under Oath recently. And like in my car alone, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna try to go. I'm like, I'm like, I don't have that anymore.
Maybe I shouldn't do that anymore.
Okay, I got a question for you.
Okay, what's your question?
What was the first time you're bodybuilding? Someone says squats are a really good movement. Like, were you afraid of squats after your experiment or experience?
Yeah. So, I don't think it was ever something. Maybe it did. I've never thought of it like that.
Because I remember you had a whole squat series on your channel.
So for me, for the longest time, I didn't think I could squat. Obviously, I could squat, but as far as like squatting to depth with good form, because I have issues now, the more I look into it, I have issues with my left ankle. What I think it was from was when I was bigger, I used to skateboard. That was like my identity before anything was I was a skateboarder, and then I ended up playing drums, and then I became a fitness weirdo. But before that, I was skateboarding, so I skated all the time, and my left foot is the foot that I push with, and so I think that I jacked up my ankles from doing that. But so I remember I worked out with my friend Brian, and I never did squats before because I was too afraid.
Yeah.
And then he was like, we should squat. And I tried to squat and I got like a quarter of the way down. And then my I'm just leaning way forward. It looks terrible. The form's really bad. And then from there on out, I just didn't squat with a regular barbell. So I would do like the hack squats with like the machine and all of that stuff, but I would never do squats.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it was definitely like this mental battle that I had to overcome. And then I finally got squat shoes. I remember I got those. That was a huge thing for me. And then I started like the squat series on my YouTube channel. And I just tried to, slowly work on it. It's gotten a lot better. I don't think I'll ever have perfect like ankle mobility, but it was definitely like something that stressed me out for a very long time because I didn't realize you could like your mobility could get better over time by working on it. Yeah. I just thought it was like, this is how my body is. There's nothing I can do about it. And yeah, it was really stressful, but yeah, definitely it was something that I struggled with for sure.
Yeah. I was just wondering like if you have such a deep memory to that weight class or that football practice, and like with squats, I wonder if it would just have like a mental, like, carry on,
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's kind of, there's so many things that have happened to me when I was overweight that I'm sure I don't even remember, but for some reason that thing was something that I totally remember. And it's funny though, like I was really lucky, I would say, in high school as far as not getting made fun of very much. I think though it was to my own detriment, because the reason I didn't get made fun of very much was because I made fun of myself first. So like you remember in high school, my nickname was Cupcake.
Yeah.
And like I fully embraced that. So the story behind that was this kid, it was in 10th grade. I've been in special ed since I was in 2nd grade. And this happened in one of those special ed classes. So it was called RSP, so it's Resource Specialist Program. So it's not like it's more just for kids that need a little bit of extra help. But apparently, for some reason, they also put kids in there that were kind of problematic too. So a lot of my classes in there were kids that just didn't want to be at school, were just kind of bullies, you know. And so in one of those classes was when they made up the nickname. They were like giving people nicknames, and they looked at me and they called me Cupcake, right? Because I was overweight. And at first, it kind of hurt my feelings, but then I was like, you know what? I kind of like that. And so for the rest of high school, my name was Cupcake in all of my classes. And like literally all of my classes. And it was funny though, because I had those 2 different personalities. So it wasn't all of my classes, but the classes that I was known as Cupcake in, which were most of them, I was rambunctious. I was probably pretty annoying to the teacher. I was a class clown guy. And then if I was just John David, I was quiet. I didn't speak, you know, it was just, I was very quiet. But then like, so I got so used to making fun of myself, I would make fun of myself constantly. And then, you know, I didn't get made fun of because I was already telling the joke first. But then like with making fun of myself so much all the time, you just start to believe what you're saying. And I didn't need people to make fun of me because I already had that low self-worth anyways, you know, but luckily I would say it did avoid me having any really like embarrassing things where people were like really mean to me. The only issue I would have that people would point out was I've always been a very big sweater. And I still was a big sweater when I was in high school. And so whenever it was like hot or anything like that, and then like after lunch, if I would go into a class, I'd be sweating and people would say stuff about that. But that was about it. Nothing super, like, it wasn't super bad in high school dealing with that at all.
So you're a big sweater?
Yeah.
I'm more of like a big cardigan.
That's the worst joke ever.
Okay, so you actually made me think of something. Do we talk about why my name is Jean and your name is John?
Yeah, please. We should have started with that. Why didn't we start with that? You tell that story.
Yeah. So a lot of people they know him as John. If they don't know us as brothers, they know him as John. But in our household, he's my brother. I'm Jean. He's John. I would call him John David. Yeah. And people are always curious, like, why do you call him John David? And it's not even like 2 different names. It's John David.
It's there's no D.
Yeah.
John David.
Yeah, John David.
John David.
Yeah. And so the reason why he is named that, and why I am named Jean is a carried name. I was born first. My name is the real name.
I'm the firstborn.
My name is the real one. And it is Jean-Joseph Glad. It is French. It was my grandpa's name. My middle name is my dad's middle name. His middle name is his grandpa's middle name. So it's just been carried on for a very long time. Jean was just a natural name. I'm my dad's first son. So it was like...
Must be nice.
Yeah. Not my mom's first, first son. Third son there. But that is just like a natural name, natural carried name. And then John David comes into the scene and we have an uncle.
Busting through.
Yep. We have an uncle named John David. And while he is being born, either right before or during the time or whatever,
in the same time, yeah.
He had AIDS and he actually passed away. So they named him John David out of memory of our uncle. So it was kind of like an emotional thing.
Yeah.
It wasn't like my mom was whacked out on drugs.
Yeah.
But that's not.
Yeah, we can talk about that too. But.
Yeah, that's not like the main reason why. But I just wish that she would have named you David John. Out of like
David John,
you know, like
I'm glad she didn't name me that. If anyone out there is named David John, I apologize. But.
Well, I mean, then you'd be Dave. You just be David.
That's true.
You know, like
remember that little bit of time I tried to go around telling people to call me Davey.
No,
do you remember that?
No.
I remember that.
I tried to get people to call me Joe from a middle name, and it never worked.
I tried to get people to call me Dragon. Call me Nighthawk. But yeah, so that's the story. Like he was named after our grandfather. I was named after our uncle. But so
I was born first, and my name is the legitimate name. He's the illegitimate child.
The illegitimate son. Yeah. But a little bit of our backstory of our, just as far as our life is concerned, so we have tons of brothers and sisters. So I'm gonna go. Let's run through.
Okay.
From oldest.
If you
I
can.
might, yeah, if I can remember. So there's Andy.
Yeah.
She's the only sister or only other sibling on her dad's side. So there's Andy. She's in her 40s.
Yep.
And then next is Travis.
Yep.
Who is on my mom's side. So the rest is gonna be people on my mom's side. So Travis is our half brother on my mom's side. He's in his 30s. Then there's Nick, who we've actually never met. He was taken away at birth because, again, like we said, our mom was a drug addict back then, and she basically had given him away before he was born, to give him a better life, which is cool. We've never met him.
Yeah, and the dad was from Mexico.
Yeah,
so he went to Mexico.
So we think he lives in Mexico. So yeah, there's Nick, and then there's Marilyn, who is half on my mom's side, PJ, half on my mom's side, and then there's Jean, who's this guy right here, this nerd, and then there's me, and then there's Evelyn. So Jean, me, and Evelyn are all full siblings. So we're full siblings, and then everyone else that I just mentioned is half. So yeah, it's a pretty crazy story as far as I don't think anybody in our family was like on purpose, right? Wasn't everybody on accident?
Yeah. I mean, there was no planned marriages back then.
Yeah.
I mean, there was no planned births for my mom back then.
Yeah, it was just like, oopsies.
Like, well, I'm pregnant again.
We got another one.
Yeah.
We got another one.
Yeah.
Evelyn was actually born in our house.
Yeah.
That's how, like, they were just like, we'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a little bit of the backstory of
It's
where
like
we come
a
from.
weird dynamic where I am the oldest child and also one of the youngest children.
And it's crazy because, so as far as, obviously my mom is no longer a drug addict, neither is my dad. So the way I feel like you should tell this story because I was so young at this time.
About being taken away?
And just kind of everything that led up to that, I guess.
Yeah, I mean,
I was so young.
Yeah, so we basically my mom was just addicted to drugs and
By the way, I want to say she is completely okay with us telling the story. She's been on my channel and has said these things, so don't think we're like, I love my mom. She's probably listening to this. Hi, Mom, I love you. She has no issues with us sharing this.
Yeah. So, from what I remember at the point, the house that we were taken away at, it was in an alley behind a 7-Eleven. And I was just staying at a friend's house, didn't even think anything about it. And it was like this like weird like duplex kind of thing where there was houses on one side, houses on the other side. There was a shared courtyard. And I was hanging out at my friend's house across the courtyard. And these people in suits come and they ask I'm over there at the house, and they come over and they bring me, and I go to the house, and my dad is like being restrained by police officers, and my mom is crying, and they say, pick up your stuff, we're leaving. And my mom is crying, and I'm trying to figure out what's going on. But it turns out that CPS, Child Protective Services, was called, and the government was there to remove us from that situation. And so then we went to a center called Polinsky's, and it's where they send children who don't yet have a foster home.
It's like a middle.
Yep. And so we went there, and then we were foster cared by our uncle, which was not the best circumstance by any means.
Yeah, but it was lucky because if we didn't go with him, we were going to have to go with our grandma, and that was like that would have been like final too.
Yeah.
Until Evelyn was 18 years old, so our whole lives would have been completely different.
Yeah, so it's definitely, the situation was used for good, but it was like kind of sucky while we were there.
Yeah.
And then during that time is when my mom gave her life to God. She like totally got off drugs, went to a Christian drug and rehab program, totally cleaned her life up. And the way it worked is for foster kids, we went through the foster system, and yes, that is tragic. And that day that we were taken away was very emotional and crazy. For foster kids, we've had it good.
Yeah, we're definitely like a success story for that system.
Yeah. So like, I'm not saying like, yay, like we were foster kids, but I'm also not saying like, oh, my life was so hard because I was a foster kid. It's like we had it good as foster kids because my mom got her life together. My uncle's was the only place we stayed. We didn't hop house to house to house. And then when she cleaned her life up, like we moved back with her. Yeah.
And what's crazy about our uncle taking us is like we were not very close to him before that.
Nope.
And we're not close to him now.
Because it was like, it was like a rough. It was a rough go.
It was not easy being with him. I do remember a little bit from there.
Yeah.
So my memory kind of stopped. Like, I don't remember us getting taken away. I remember a little bit at our uncle's house, and then I remember a little bit because we were hotel hopping for a little bit. And I remember when I was really young, I loved Cowboys and Indians, like the little like dollar store, like, you know, the little plastic things.
Yeah.
And so I remember playing with them at a window, looking over some city, and we were in some hotel, and I remember that. That's like one of my first memories.
Yeah, it's I remember that. We were it was in El Cajon where we live, and it was one of the visits while we were taken away.
Okay. So
my mom was allowed certain visits with us, and so she was in a hotel at that point.
Okay.
And she bought us Cowboys and Indians as like a toy when we got over there. But yeah, fun times.
Yeah, so I think that with our past, we obviously there's people that have had it way worse than us, 100%. But I think that with the rougher past that we have had, it's given us, at least me, I don't want to speak for you, but it's given me such an appreciation for what I do have. You know, with like what we're able to do here, like being able to even have the opportunity to record this podcast and like me make the YouTube videos that I make and have the outreach and have the ability to reach so many people. That's why I think I've always been so careful about what I say and trying to make sure that I'm a good influence to people, because I know that my life was so tough growing up, and I never want to I just never want to take advantage and not really remember how lucky I am to be in the position that I'm in now. You know, I think it's always going to be a part of me. Like, no matter how much we get away from our past and, you know, hopefully try and make a better future for ourselves and eventually if we ever have kids for them and stuff. But I think it's always going to be something that is going to be like something that I will always remember. I can't imagine like not remembering that and it being a big deal to me.
Yeah. Yeah. I think like if there was something like people are listening here and they're like, what does this have to do with me? You know, like how does this help me out? And I think it's like the power in knowing that whatever situation you're in is not permanent.
Yeah.
Because being taken away, being overweight, being made fun of for a way you are, like it's easy to feel like this is me and this will be me forever. And it's like, that's not true. Like there are some crazy things that can happen when you just decide, all right, it's time for a change. And it can be a 1% change, but like 1% over however many days, years, months, whatever, like that adds up to something.
Yeah.
And so like, for me, it's taught me like, to be grateful, but it's like, you're never stuck where you are, you know? And it's cool. It's just like, that has really like shaped like where I'm at right now with my career. Like I'm doing freelance video. Like 3 years ago, I didn't know how to edit video.
Yep.
You know, like I didn't know cameras. I didn't know.
It's been really cool watching you grow, because when I first started YouTube and doing all this stuff, I knew a lot more than he did about this stuff. Now, if I need help with anything when it comes to making a thumbnail, when it comes to like starting this podcast, a lot of like he did so much behind the scenes stuff, because one, I know he enjoys it a lot more than I do. Like you're a lot more like you enjoy figuring things out on the computer. Like, why isn't this working? For me, I just get super frustrated and I shut down. Like we could have a whole podcast about how I shut down and stuff like that. But it's been super cool seeing you go from the guy that doesn't really know anything to now I'm asking
anything. About anything.
John was an idiot. He still is, but you know what I mean. And so it's been really cool. But I totally agree with that. It's funny that you say that, like feeling trapped, because I've always used that metaphor when I was overweight. Like I felt like I was trapped in this obese version that I built, you know, and that's so true. Like I've never even thought about our past, how that might have affected my mindset in going into being like, I can change. Because for us, like almost like the beginning of our lives was, you know, so much turmoil was going on. And for, you know, our older siblings, they lived through it for a longer period of time than we did.
Yeah.
And so like for us, like the roots of our trees were almost like started in that turmoil. But then seeing like, you can get through it. Like our mom was able to get past that, and like knowing what our life, because I think about it all the time, like what our lives would have been like if we didn't get out of that situation. I don't know where we would be.
Yeah.
And so like seeing that, like, because
I mean, we've got like our own brothers,
Yeah.
you know, and family members who are struggling with some serious stuff in and out of jail.
Yeah.
Cousins who were like best friends. Like my mom and her siblings were really tight, and they've all like passed away from AIDS and from drugs and and so it's like, and to see the destruction that it's caused in our cousins' lives of, you know, their kids in and out of jail, drugs.
And so like that's our circle, right? Like from where we started. And just seeing my mom change, like that's you know, our life. Like I don't think of my life starting in like, you know, in drugs and dealing with that. It was like it started when my mom got off drugs, and we were in poverty for sure. You know, we had Section 8 housing, you know, food stamps, all of that stuff. Like that's how we lived. But it wasn't drugs and like terrible stuff that would tear us apart. Like we really got really close because of all of that.
Yeah.
Like I remember we would take the bus to school a lot of times, and then it would be a treat. Do you remember this? It would be a treat if mom could afford a taxi to take us to school.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Because it would take like, I don't even know. It would take like 30, 45 minutes to get to school when it was literally a 5-minute drive. But I remember that. Like, and so like all of that stuff, like just starting from what we thought we were going to start off, and then luckily we were able to get out of that, I think for me has been a huge part in realizing this is a whole roundabout way of saying like you can change.
Yeah.
Like the situation that you might feel so mired down in and feel like there's no getting out of it, like this is your life, because that was our life for the first few years. For you remember a lot more of it.
Yeah.
But our life was like your life is gonna suck. Like that's how it felt, you know. And we realized, we saw our mom get out of it, and which in turn obviously got us out of it. And I think that that's always been something that I've remembered and realized, like human beings are capable of changing drastically.
Yeah.
And it, like you said, it might be over time. Like obviously for my mom, she had to quit drugs right away, right? Like she had to get off drugs. But like for most of the things that we want to change, we can take the time to make small changes over a long period of time and see that big change. We don't have to do things like right away and like, you know, make a huge change right off the bat.
Yeah. And almost like I would encourage that second or that route of small change, you know, and it's like, because you can maintain that, like you can maintain taking the stairs instead of the elevator, you know, do that for a month, and it's a small change, and you're going to get a small reaction out of it because it's a small change, but it's still a change.
Yep.
And then next thing. So like you're never stuck in the situation. I think like that's the thing that I think about is whenever I'm discouraged, or like I brought up, like I didn't have any skills. I was a barista.
Do you have any skills?
But like I didn't have any, and I like saw my.
You were a good barista.
I was a good barista. I was a barista champion in the San Diego region. But
let them know.
Yeah, but one time barista champion. Not 2 times.
One time, just
one time. But like, you can change, and like that's what I was saying. Skills.
Lost your train of thought.
Yeah, I did, and like I don't want to like pause for a long time because I'm not going to cut it like a video.
No cuts. One take.
Yeah. And so I was terrified of my future.
Yeah.
Because it was like, I can be a barista I can become a store manager of Starbucks. Like that was the path I was on, which is good.
It's not terrible. Yeah.
Yeah. Like it's good. Like
you were eventually going to get there.
Yeah. But it was just like, is this me? Like I've got a job. I've got a skill set that literally hundreds upon thousands of people have across the world. Like how's that going to separate me from anything? So learning YouTube and just literally doing it on the fly, doing it on the go, like having that skill set, I'm in a totally different spot than I was 2 years ago.
Yeah. And well, and now you're not even just doing like freelance stuff. You work for, like, tell them what you do.
So I work for a YouTube channel called Video Influencers, and I'm their content producer. So they record videos, they edit stuff for their YouTube channel. But then when it comes to social media, making stories, making posts, making tweets, making whatever, Facebook posts, like I'm the guy who you look at those posts and go, oh, that person made that. Oh, the tour image. Oh, I made that. So I'm doing that with them. I also post like vlog stuff for them.
Yeah. And this is all stuff that you didn't go to school for.
No.
That you just were like, I want to learn this, so I'm going to look this up on YouTube or wherever and learn how to do this.
Yep. And then I also do like volunteer for fun. Like I'm helping my church out with announcement videos with here's this event coming up, here's an event recap, here's an image we need to use, like, and it's like an ability that I have a asset that I'm able to give to these people that they didn't have before. And it's awesome. Like it's really cool, but I didn't have that 2 years ago, a year ago, you know, like, and so it's just with that mindset of like, you're not stuck where you are. You're going to find yourself in new places that you never would have thought you would have been in because you're opening yourself up to, I can do this instead of, oh, I'll never be able to. It's crazy.
Well, and it's like, just like you said right there, it's like opening yourself up because you don't know what's going to come from, you know, giving it a shot. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't know what's going to come. Like, I don't know what to do. I don't know how what's going to happen, but I'm going to try.
Yeah.
And I think like for me, that literally changed, that mindset changed my life. Because for me, the video that went like viral, that literally changed my life was a moment in time that I never thought that I would share my loose skin. You know, that was never something that I thought that I would be like, oh, I'm going to make a video about this. Because like when I started losing weight, first off, there was not many videos that talked about loose skin. So I didn't even realize it was going to happen. And then once it did happen, it made sense to me. I was like, okay, I was 360 pounds, very large human being. Yeah. Makes sense that now I'm a smaller human being. I have loose skin from this. But I would get so many questions about it. And then so I just decided, you know, I had my Instagram for a while. I posted a couple pictures of my skin, but I would get questions every single day. And now it seems like it's almost like everyone talks about it, which is good. Like I'm so happy that so many people talk about it, make videos about it, and are very open about it. Like there's so many people now that are getting like loose skin surgery that like share their whole journey.
Yeah.
Fat Girl Fed Up is one that's like she's actually getting surgery today.
Wow.
Yeah, she has she was like 400 something pounds. And she lost like 3 something or something like that. Like unbelievable. And the amount of loose skin she has is way more than I do.
Yeah.
But she's been so open about like, and it's almost to her detriment because so many people have become trolls and like, are like, all right, I get it. Like I've seen your loose skin, but I'm like, that thing that people don't realize that don't have it is like, if you have loose skin, it's not like this just this thing that I pull up every once in a while. I'm like, hey, look at this like party trick. It's like, no, I live with it every day.
Yeah.
She lives with it every day. And she's not shared it very much because no matter how much you want to share it, it's still kind of taboo. Like if I posted a shirtless picture, it's not like people aren't going to comment about my loose skin. It's always, even if they're saying, oh, your skin looks better. Or even if it's positive, it's always going to get commented on, right?
Yeah.
But I totally got off topic there. But what I was trying to say is that for me, recording that video was still out of my comfort zone and I didn't know what was going to come from it. But once I recorded that, that's how literally my whole life changed because of that video.
Yeah.
And like, that's how I got on the Ellen Show. That's how literally, if it wasn't for me recording that video, I don't think we'd be here right now.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't have been able, because like what I do now is I'm a YouTuber and among other things, now a podcaster, which I'm seriously so excited about. But
already updated my Instagram.
Have you?
Yeah.
I know. I'm gonna do it right after we're done filming this. I'm gonna put, you know,
Podcaster.
Work for Change podcast on my bio. But you know, all of these opportunities were because I was one, vulnerable, and two, just willing to put myself out there. And like for you, obviously it's completely different. You went and put yourself out there by trying things. But even like for you, I remember us talking about when you were like basically interviewing and doing all of this stuff to hopefully work with video influencers, you were like, I don't know if I should do this. I don't know if I'm like, if I even have the right skill set, because like, again, you didn't go to school for it. You just learned it from online. But that's how I learned like a lot of weight loss stuff before I was, you know, doing all this before. Like when I started losing weight, I learned a lot of stuff from YouTube, and it's all knowledge that is so true. And I completely believe it, you know? And so like just taking that initiative to be like, I need to change, and then jumping and doing it, you know, can be so beneficial. And like, for me, it was like, it literally changed my entire life. And it was, I mean, I just remember after I put up the video, like it was crazy. Like, so me and Brian, my friend, he was one of the people that made me start a YouTube channel. Shout out to Brian if you're listening. And then he had me like, he was like, he helped me film videos. This was before I knew anything about YouTube, right? But I knew I always kind of wanted to do YouTube because I learned how to play drums by watching YouTube videos. I learned how to lose my weight by watching YouTube videos. So he was like, you know, you need to make a channel. So I started making a couple videos, like Feeding the Beast, which is like my series where I just show what I'm eating throughout the day and just other things like that. And then just like vlogs. But then something in my head, like I always knew I wanted to record was a loose skin video because of how many questions I would get.
Yeah.
And I remember I waited until I had like 3,000 subscribers because it's not like I thought the video was going to go viral, but I was like, I want to have at least some sort of following before I make this video because it was a big deal for me.
Yeah.
And then I remember it wasn't even like we were like, okay, on Tuesday, we're going to record this video. It was that day we were at the gym and then we went back to his house because that's what we did. That was like our routine. And then we went back to his house and I remember I told him, I was like, I think I want to record the video today. The loose skin video. He was like, all right. And so we recorded the video. Because he did the editing for me because I didn't know how to do, he was in a different program and he was, I'll just do it. Because it was like a 4-minute video or something like that. We recorded it, edited it, and put it up within like a 4-hour window of being like, I want to record this to it being up on my channel. And I remember we put it up and he was like, man, this is going to be a big video because when we were filming it, he literally was crying. Yeah. And I remember thinking like, what the heck is going on? Like, I was not expecting that at all. And man, Brian is such a good guy. I'm seriously so glad that he's still in my life. But so we put that up there, and again, like, so if it wasn't for him, like, it's just crazy how things work out. But if it wasn't for him, it wouldn't have been possible, right?
Yeah.
So then it got put up, and then it like, you know, it did pretty well because it went out to my initial subscribers, and then I remember, I guess it got posted on. This was actually crazy. I haven't talked about this in a while. It got posted on Reddit on one of the I think it was either Lose It or just the fitness Reddit. And then that's where it started getting traction. And then it got retweeted by like Justin Timberlake. Mm-hmm. I remember that. And then it just started like
Justin Timberlake or Ashton Kutcher?
Ashton Kutcher. Yeah. Nice. You remember. I remember I said that and I was like, that doesn't sound right. But yeah, Ashton Kutcher. Because it wasn't tweet, it was on Facebook. This was when he was just like, that was his page was basically just like viral videos for some reason. I don't know if he still does that, but he shared it on Facebook and it was like, John, you're a warrior. So awesome. And I remember thinking like, oh, Ashton Kutcher see my video. But in reality, it probably wasn't even actually him. It was probably just someone that works for him. Mm-hmm. But whatever, you know, it was still cool because it got it out there. And then it started that's when it went viral, right? And then it went everywhere. And I remember me, my friend Brian, and then LP, which is his brother, we would joke around a ton like, oh, you just gotta wait for Ellen to hit you up, waiting for Ellen, just completely joking, like had no expectations of that happening. And then I ended up getting hit up by it was the doctors, right? They wanted to have me on their show, and I was like, okay, yeah, that sounds cool. And then, but like a week after they hit me up, I got an email from the Ellen Show.
Didn't you get one from Steve Harvey?
That was after.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I got the email from the Ellen Show, and then they told me not to tell anyone, but right away I told Brian and LP because they helped me make the video.
Yeah.
And we were freaking out, running around the gym, outside the gym in the parking lot, and then I was honest with the Ellen Show. I was like, well, you know, the doctors want to have me on the show, so like, you know, and they were like, we're gonna be honest, if you go on the doctors, we're not gonna have you on the show.
Yeah.
But they hadn't told me I would be on the show yet because they interview you a ton. They call you a ton. So they don't tell you you're going to be on the show. But basically, I just had to trust that it would happen. So I didn't go on the doctors. And I was like, man, I really hope I didn't make a dumb decision, you know?
Yeah.
And it was my birthday, 2013, I think, or 2014. I forget which year it was. That's when they said, okay, you're going to be on the show. Like, that's when they called me and said you're going to be on the show. And then I went on the show. And then, you know, that's kind of its whole own thing. But yeah, and that was all because I just decided to take that, you know, that one jump of faith and just trusting myself and, you know, getting out of my comfort zone led to all of that. And I don't say that ever to brag because it wasn't me. It was luck. You know what I mean? Like, I might have taken that step, but all of those things all obviously happened in a very lucky fashion for me to be where I am.
Yeah. But
I think it's so cool now, you know, with my story getting out there. And then I think it really made people more comfortable with sharing their loose skin to where now it's obviously it's still a little taboo, but it's nowhere near it was when I first did it.
Yeah.
And obviously, so if I did that video now, I'm not saying people wouldn't care, but I mean, I do loose skin updates and I don't do it to get like a tons of views. I literally do it to share, you know, this is what I look like now. And it's not the same thing. And that's good. That means it's showing that it's not some scary thing anymore, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think that on a total change of subject, but it relates. One of my favorite new YouTubers is Will Smith.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
He's so good. Like an actor, obviously, who's really embraced the YouTube
If you haven't
life.
heard of Will Smith.
Yeah, if you haven't heard of Will Smith, then
Something going on there.
yeah. But he's really. What if someone's like, "Oh, I know Will Smith, the YouTuber, but I've never heard."
I don't get why he's so popular on YouTube.
But he actually put out a video where he's talking about the other side of fear, you know, and like how it was with him and skydiving or something. And he was like, freedom lies on the other side of fear. And it's so true because it's like,
I love Will Smith.
Oh my gosh. But it's like, it's so true because if you just live by fear, then you're always afraid. Obviously, you're always afraid. You're always like, you've got this like literal wall that you can't see past.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you cross that wall, when you go over it, you realize everything that you were so afraid of is so small. And like now there's like this open field in front of you. And we're growing. Like eventually you go through that open field and you find another wall that looked way bigger than your other wall. And you cross that and there's another open field. And it's like there's so much freedom that lies on the other side of fear.
Well, it's so true. And like this is kind of a silly, like, you know, I guess way to explain it. But for me, example, there we go. I couldn't think of the word. For me, like the best way to explain that is like when the first time I went to Six Flags, I was terrified to go on any roller coaster. And like I remember I went through a couple lines and didn't go on the roller coaster, right? So I would go literally like you go through the line, I would step on the cart and just go to the other side because I was like, I didn't want to be alone, so I would wait in line with my friends. Yeah. But then once I finally went on the first roller coaster, I went on every other single one afterwards. Yeah, because I was like, I wasn't scared anymore. Yeah, you know, and like that, it was like that. It was if I would just been so afraid, I wouldn't have done it. But then once I was over the fear, it was like, okay, let's go. Yeah. And then it was like I was looking forward to the next one. The only thing was I was afraid that I wouldn't fit on one, and I got really close to not fitting on one, and that was scary.
Yeah, but you did. You survived.
Yeah, I made it through. But yeah, Will Smith, like I made a whole video about his fault versus responsibility thing that's like it's still one of my favorite things. Yeah. So if you don't know, he has this it was an Instagram story, and then I think he made a video on it, but he's talking about how just because something is somebody's fault. Like the best way to explain it for me, obviously I always bring it back to weight loss, but if I in my head genuinely thought it was my mom's fault that I gained my weight, right? Just because it's her fault, in quotes, doesn't mean that it's her responsibility, especially now me being 25, to make me lose the weight. Yeah. It's my responsibility. And like just because it might be somebody's fault that they've wronged you, right? It might be someone's fault that you are in a certain situation with a boss or something like that. It's not their responsibility every time to make that change, to figure it out for you. It's not. And that was so powerful. And I absolutely, like, him and The Rock, if I could choose two people to go to dinner with, that's who it would be. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. I would not invite you either.
No, it's fine. That's fine. I wouldn't invite you either. Yeah, I'd want all the attention.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But yeah. All right. Well, I think it's good.
It's been good.
Yeah.
It's been a good hour.
Good first podcast. Let us know what you think. We're obviously going to have this on YouTube. We're also going to have it in other areas where you can rate and like and give it 5 stars so that we can get something going on here. But on YouTube, leave some comments, questions, on iTunes or whatever. If you can, you can leave reviews.
If you could leave a review, but if you could give us 5 stars, that'd be great. We'd really appreciate it. Obviously, like we said, it's going to get better. The quality is going to improve. We were here for a long time trying to figure this out. So this is not what we were hoping for. We were hoping the audio would be a little bit better for the first one, but again, it's growing pains. It's going to get better, and we are planning on interviewing people. So if there's people interesting people, not even just weight loss related, but interesting people that you would like to hear from, that you think we could talk to, that would bring value to you, let us know, because that's a big part of what we want to do here. And then if there's just topics in general, right, like that we could talk about for you guys.
Yeah, we don't claim that we're experts at all, but we are interested. Like we're interested in how you can improve your life in so many areas. And so just having that conversation out loud helps me process. I know it helps you process by speaking it. And so it's like your guys' invitation into us literally just processing, and I think it's cool. I think it's interesting. I think there's value because it makes you think of things that you weren't thinking of before. Yeah. All right.
Well, I do want to say one more thing.
Yeah.
Just thank you for listening if you got here. Yeah, we really appreciate it because this has been something that we've been wanting to do, and we're glad that we finally were able to do it. Now I'm just rambling, but yeah. All right.
Peace out.
Guys.